Jeremy S. Cook here, and today I have a bit of a problem. Actually, my son does. His bed happens to be on the floor. Now, this was great when he's like 1 or 2 years old when we were afraid of him rolling out, but now that he's like 3, it's time to get him a proper bed that he can actually get on and sleep. So, this is what I came up with. It's a twin bed with a headboard made out of 2x4s, CNC engraved with his name and several robots. The horizontal section is made out of 2x6s and 2x3s attached together to hold slats made out of furring strips and other wood that I had left over. Button-nut screws and brass inserts attach the piece together, allowing it to be easily transported into the bedroom and assembled. So here I am cutting the 2x4s for the horizontal pieces, and this is the long piece, the long 2x6. Here I'm assembling everything, kind of putting it together, making sure it'll all fit okay. And I'm marking the sides here that I'm going to cut into. In order to do this, to put the notches in them, I actually put a hole in them with a drill beforehand, pre-drilled it so that I could turn around my jigsaw or whatever I'm using on it. There I am jigsawing the horizontal pieces, and I could have done with this with a table saw or a router, but this is what I chose, probably because I don't have a table saw. I don't know, I just have a bit of an aversion to them. But there I am with my bandsaw cutting that out. Could have used a jigsaw for that too, but this is what I did. Seemed like a little bit more accurate way to do it. And once those are done, I knocked up the top piece too, so I'd be able to fit 2x4s, three sections of 2x4s in it. First one fits, second one fits, and the third fit fine too. And there it is laid out again, it's making some progress, actually starting to look kind of like a bed. I marked the slots for each of the wood screws on the horizontal pieces, or the vertical pieces, then drilled them. I did not drill the horizontal pieces on these because I thought I could use that to adjust the pressure on them. There it is fitting in nicely, and in order to keep it all secure, I actually locked it down with clamps and other 2x4s. This turned out to be a pretty good method to keep everything somewhat straight. These wood screws now, I don't know when they started doing it, but they put Torx bits on them, which I really like. It's just so easy to put it in there and just drill it down with no problem. As I'd find out later, sometimes it goes in too far, so in subsequent drilling procedures, I actually used a hand drill later in the process. You see it there, it's all straight. Drilling it in now that it's nice and done, and finishing, and it's nice and then I'm finishing up with my hand drill. Now, probably the coolest thing about this bed is that it's got an engraving in it with Max and Robot. Initially I thought I'd put a soccer ball on it, but found that soccer balls are quite hard to draw in CAD, and I decided not to actually just copy something. So these are all original designs by me, Jeremy S. Cook. See the router nicely cutting it out. It's a test piece of 2x6 that I just had left over. And then the final thing was done in a 2x4. Lining it up there. And I set it out straight to the middle of the board. There it is, cutting the final piece with Max and 4 robots on it. I'd paint these later with using a technique with paint pens and stuff, and worked out pretty well. So again, using the fixture clamp setup, I drilled it in and made for a nice setup. Had to actually beat it down with a mallet a little bit in order to get it straight, get it aligned with the other one. But after a little work like that, it lined up nicely. Now the other alignment problem was that the 2x6s and the 2x3s that I used in the bottom, they were a bit bent with respect to each other. So what I had to do was clamp them all down and then tighten them down with more wood screws. I'd planned to do this, but I wasn't planning on it being quite as bent as it was, but it worked out okay. The other challenge is that on the end of the horizontal pieces in the headboard and baseboard, you got to put four holes in to align them with each other in the screws. So what I did, I made a template out of a piece of spare 2x4, marking this out correctly, then drilling it with 3/8 holes so I could put in the 3/8/16 bolts, button head screws that I would put in later. This is a little work to lay it out beforehand, but And once I got it done, I could very easily drill it in there. With that in place, so just a matter of drilling it down a few times. I like this so much, I'll go ahead and show it twice. Bam, bam, bam. Lots of fun. And the horizontal pieces drill this just the same way. Fixturing that was a little bit of a challenge, but once I got it on there, again, no problem. And there I am, just opening the holes up with a 13mm bit, which is the biggest one I had that could fit in that drill, my hand drill. With that done, I put some inserts into it, some brass inserts. Yeah, I think this is a bit stronger when they're used in the other direction grain-wise, but for my purposes that worked out fine, and using 4 is probably overkill anyway, so it turned out to be very secure. There I am hooking that up, and then screwing the button head screws in. I really like this look because it's just a nice machine look, even though it's a woodworking piece. My background is mechanical engineering, so I guess I just take a little bit of that. So the other thing was the slats for the bed. You could use a piece of plywood for the whole thing and just put it in there, but instead I decided to use these slats, used one template for each of them. Made sure to use the same one so the errors didn't add up after a while. This is just some wood that I had left over. Initially I was using 1x2 furring strips and some other similar dimensioned wood. Eventually I got some 1x3 furring strips as well to kind of supplement the strength. And plus, I didn't quite have enough to cover it. Between those I used some of the 1x2 furring strips and similar wood to separate them, and that gives a nice layer, you know, makes it cool on the bottom, so for some ventilation. But after that, it was time to take it apart and finish it. Those screws make it really easy to take apart, and the idea is that you can take it into your bedroom piece by piece and then set it up. So I put it on a router with a 3/8 round over bit, and there I am doing the headboard. Besides just looking nice, the other thing is when you've got a little kid around, it's nice to have it rounded over so they don't bash their head or whatever on it. And in theory, sharp edges are kind of the danger of something like that. And a lot of sanding later, starting to look pretty nice. Put a coat of urethane on. And after this, it was time to actually paint the engraving. But it looks pretty good, and it's nice to see it come out kind of nice, just seeing the wood. It's interesting because the 2x4 or 2x6, it looks pretty good by itself, but once you start putting the urethane on and stuff, it's just like, wow, this is actually starting to look like a real piece of furniture. Really nice to get one of these pieces of wood nice and smooth. Took it off with a piece of rag too to make sure it was nice and dust free. So here I am painting everything with a paint pen. Made that robot brown. I tried to wipe it off with a towel, but that didn't really work. So had to use a sanding block instead, which you'll see in a second. So there, the Max is in orange, and that's in brown. These are just robots that I just came up with, just kind of fanciful robots I came up with and using DraftSight, which AutoCAD clone. But anyway, after that it was time for quite a bit of sanding. I wasn't sure if it'd all come off, but after a little vacuuming and some even more sanding, actually looked pretty good. Once that was done, it was time to put another urethane coat on the headboard and all the other pieces on the bed. So it's got 2 coats of urethane, did some sanding in between, and after that it should be nice and smooth. But with that done, I set it up in Max's bedroom. Probably could have used a helper to hold up the other horizontal piece. And put everything in. I had to use a mallet to get some of the things in because it was a little tight. And even glued some of the spacers in because I ended up knocking them off. So here's another view of the bed. I really liked how it turned out. I'm really proud of this, and my son really liked it as well. There's Max, his name, the 4 robots, The yellow one, I guess, could have been a little darker. And some stuffed animals that I did not make. There's underneath. And just poking out to see what you might see in the morning, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll put the plans online as best I can. Oh, and did Max like it? He did. And there I am sleeping on it with Evie. So yeah. Anyway, again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.